This is an RWB that you're just not going to be able to get any other way. So I never thought I'd actually own an RWB. The Porsche, I guess, brand in general, I've never been. I guess Porsche's always hard to buy. They're always selling for overvalue. They're always waiting lists and all of that. So I've never wanted to play any of the Porsche games. I don't know how to get into any of that. And then RWBs on top of that are just a whole nother upper echelon of trying to get one, trying to deal with it, trying to get one built, which is like the best, most proper way to go for them. That's such a process, such a universe that I have no idea how it works. So I just thought that like Patrick Adair's never going to own an RWB, and I'm okay with that. But I love the cars. I think they're so just amazing. It's kind of the ultimate just kind of snapshot of that time period in Japan. I think they're just so cool and interesting. So lo and behold, one day my friend Brent reaches out to me. He says, Patrick, do you want to buy an RWB? And I was like, do I want to pay way too much money for a vehicle? Probably not. And he's like, no, it's a very good deal. I'm like, hold up. Because every RWB transaction I'd ever heard of up until that point was for some astronomical figure. So I was just like, nah, it's going to be way too expensive. And he's like, no, no, hear me out, hear me out. And Brent, you got to understand his backstory. He's like RWB fanatic. He's getting his built. It's been delayed due to a pandemic and things like that. But he is so just kind of entrenched into the community of it. He's got a YouTube channel where he interviews the other owners and talks to them for 45 minutes. And so he is just so obsessed with it. He is the guy when it comes to, like, if I want an RWB, he's the first person I go to and I'd say, Brent, what do you got for me? What can you do? So Brent explains to me that this isn't just any RWB. So as far as RWBs go, there is Stella Artois. That is RWB number 1 that Nakai built himself for himself. And he says, this is RWB number 2. This is the second one that came after it. He was talking to Toshi, who is the global ops director. He's also very good friends with Nakai. They kind of go way back and started the company together. And so this was the second car he built. He built Stella Artois, and then on to the next one. He built one for his friend. And that's how RWB kind of became a thing. It was just like, wow, Nakai, that car is really cool. Can you build me one? And then on to the next, and it just kind of went out of control until it became, this huge phenomenon that it is today. So Rent tells to me, he says, there's a few RWBs for sale. He was talking to Toshi about it, but this is the one you want. They were RWBs, so they were special, but they were just another RWB as far as that's concerned. So he said, look, this is a really good deal. It's the second one ever made. It's got some really cool stuff like an exhaust that Nakai built, a custom exhaust built by hand by Nakai. So that's really cool. It's got like some special duct work that Nakai had cut into it, and they put mesh behind it. So it's not just any RWB. The fenders are molded in. So it's the kind of thing that would be very tricky to get done today. The way Nakai likes to do it is he has everything prepped and ready to go. And he shows up and he cuts the fender, he bolts it on. Like he's got to be quick because he's got to do one of these every week all over the entire world. So pretty crazy. He's not going to spend the time molding in everything and then waiting for you to get it painted and then coming and cutting in some ducts and making exhaust for you. So he's like, this is an RWB that you're just not going to be able to get any other way. And it's special because of that. And RWB, from the looks of things, who knows what they're going to do, but they're starting to move on to newer, better Porsches. And Nakai, he's building a new build every single week all across the world. I couldn't keep that up for crazy long. So these aren't going to keep just popping up like crazy. You're not going to be able to find them. And it was at a price that was so good that I was like, worst case scenario, if I hate everything about the car when it comes down to it, it's probably a really good investment. So I decide like, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. I think it's going to be everything I've ever wanted it to be. If you didn't know, I've got an R32 Skyline that I've wide bodied, done a lot of stuff to. So I'm obsessed with the JDM kind of culture and all of that. And so it's something that I'm super into. I love my Skyline. I think I'm going to really, really love this RWB. Definitely wasn't looking for a car. Definitely couldn't properly afford it at the moment, but as you know, us car guys, we find a way, and so we did it. And then I've waited and waited and waited. There has been quite a delay out of the shipping ports in Japan due to the pandemic. It's been stored in a facility. We've got a shipping company who's doing the whole ship, import, customs, all of that process, helping us along with that. So they have been storing it for us. It's just been sitting there. What's really cool about this car is Toshi's got a YouTube channel, and he has documented. They're my favorite videos because they're not like anything you'd see from like a typical like American channel in the US where you got someone walking around talking about the car, all of that. It's just him setting up a GoPro doing something really interesting, like mundane but interesting. So he's got like a 20-minute video of him taking the current duckbill spoiler off and replacing it with a different one, and then taking the wheels off, removing the wheel spacers, and putting the new wheels on that it has currently right now. There's a video where he had taken it to the track, hit a little something, and a little chunk of the fender had fallen off. So it's just a video with no talking, and he just reattaches, epoxies it back on, kind of blends it in with some Bondo, uses like some Japanese newspapers or something like that as like masking for it, and just spray paints back over it. So it's the coolest, funnest car to be able to go back and watch these YouTube videos and the history of it and see it on the RWB like Instagram page. It pops up all the time just because it's at their headquarters a lot. So you see it a lot. So I've just been playing this awful game of waiting and waiting and waiting, and the car's going to ship next week, and it's going to ship the week after that, it's going to ship next week, and it's been going to ship for next week for 6 months straight. So it's just been terrible and just dragging on. But it seems like every car I get has a very similar process to that. So I'm used to that at this point. So been looking at it online, loving it, appreciating it. It finally has arrived in the US. It goes through customs. Everything is great. It's fine. We get it shipped out to Utah, and it is just so awesome. Love the car. Can't be more excited. I've obviously only had it for just a little bit now, so got a lot of fun plans and memories that will hopefully be coming to pass soon. Now, getting an RWB built, I didn't ever think would be something that I could do. Like the patience that's required for that, and especially now that the waiting list is so long, I just never thought I'd end up getting one, and buying one secondhand, as far as especially what I knew at the time, is very kind of frowned upon. You're not really supposed to sell them. It's all about the culture. RWB in general is all about no instant gratification, delayed gratification, and doing things the proper way, the right way, and all of that. So that's kind of the point of the car. Why are you getting a car that so much of its value is the meaning and everything that's behind it? If you're just going to brush all of that aside to get straight to the car, then it loses all of its purpose. So that is kind of the situation of it. But if you've got, so like Toshi, he's the global ops director. I assume he's got several cars. I know he's got more than one. I think at that point it gets a little less frowned upon to sell them secondhand. So he's like, I've got this RWB that's not being used. It's not being appreciated. He's got a newer, better one. But to me, I see this as like this treasure trove of history. And so that's the one that I wanted. So it worked out perfectly. We were able to get me the car that I'm going to love and appreciate so much. And it's cool. You get the car, and I've been added to the Holy Grail, the RWB group chat. It's not anything crazy. There's just a bunch of car dudes in a group chat talking about cool stuff, talking about RWB things, maybe people getting a group buy together to buy a replacement lip spoiler for the front or a little something like that. But it's been really cool to just be able to dive straight into the culture of it all and just really appreciate it all and experience it all. So the car itself is actually a 1986, and that makes it a 930. So most of the RWBs you see will be the generation after, I believe. So I like that because of that. I really like the headlights, how they just pop it out and they're really pronounced on it. So now when this was built, this is RWB number 2, they didn't have their whole system figured out. They didn't have their body kits, lined up. They didn't have all the molds made and everything streamlined and sent out to the customer before, and they get it painted, and then Nakai comes and puts it on. They were figuring it out as they went for this. So they didn't have, everything had to be kind of tailor-made, tailor-fit for the car. So they worked out the fenders. They thought, hey, some vents would look cool, so why not get out the skill saw and cut some vents and, go from there. And so everything about it is just a little bit different. It's a little bit, I guess it's before the mold for what an RWB had been fully defined. So I just really like it. It's just kind of an out there RWB. It's a cool car.
Finding your next dream car can be like searching for a needle in a haystack, but the best tool to use is Autotempest.com. Autotempest is the smartest and most powerful tool to search for your next car or your dream car because they allow you to search all the major listing sites at once. Their motto is all the cars, one search, and they've been supporting VINwiki for the last 3 years. Quite honestly, it's the first place I go to look when I'm searching for my next car, and I think that you'll absolutely love it. So check them out today at the link in the description below, and thank them for their continued support of VINwiki.